Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to answer which one I think is the better AI stock to buy today, Intel Corporation or Nvidia. Of course, these two AI stocks have been hot as of late due to the rising effectiveness of AI and large language models like ChatGPT. But let's take a closer look at these two AI stocks, their revenue, their profit, their valuation and prospects to determine which one is the better buy today.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right. Interestingly, when I compare Nvidia and Intel over the last 10 years, you can see up until about 2020, their stock prices were close, right? Especially if you go back further, Intel had a higher stock price than Nvidia all the way until 2017, but Nvidia's growth has been nothing short of phenomenal. And you can see even after 2020, their stock prices were very close, and then the explosion as Nvidia up to $871 per share as of this recording. An absolutely phenomenal increase, especially when you consider this huge drawdown from Nvidia in late 2022 and all of 2022, actually late 2021. Remember how Nvidia suffered because of crashing cryptocurrency prices? That seems to be way in the past now, but that was a huge concern for Nvidia, and the price fell all the way below $250, and now it's up 871 and approaching $1,000 per share. Intel, meanwhile, has been disappointing shareholders as its stock price has been stagnant, especially because most other semiconductor stocks have been soaring while Nvidia has been lagging. So, a little bit of a disappointment in terms of the stock price, but maybe that's due for a rebound. Maybe Intel is due for a rebound here. And a similar story with trailing 12-month revenue. If you go back 10 years, you can see how far ahead Intel was from Nvidia in terms of revenue and just how impressive it was that Nvidia closed this gap here and took the lead in the most recent trailing 12-month period with 61 billion in revenue to Intel's 54.23 billion in revenue. Of course, both of these stocks will benefit from the rising demand due to artificial intelligence. But let's take a look at the total addressable market for AI. According to Statista, the total addressable market for artificial intelligence is expected to grow to $1.85 trillion by the year 2030. That would be up significantly from the $207.9 billion in 2023. Artificial intelligence is popularized by large language models like ChatGPT, but there are more applications like driverless car technology, recommender systems, and more. The companies that stand to benefit from the growth in this AI surge is companies like Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Microsoft, and more. Investors getting in today could realize exponential returns from investments that capitalize on the growing effectiveness of artificial intelligence. Okay, so now that we see the opportunity, you can see that these two have long runways ahead. Roughly 60 billion in revenue is only the tip of the iceberg of this massive market that's growing and expected to grow for at least the next decade. And in my opinion, 2 or 3 decades of growth would not surprise me at all, given that large language models is just the beginning. I suspect there's going to be more valuable use cases of artificial intelligence over the next 5, 10, 20, and 30-year time periods. Large language models is just the beginning for now. And when I compared these two on their operating profit margin, again, you notice that big separation by Nvidia in the last 2 years. They were closely connected in terms of operating profitability. And then Nvidia has exploded now at 54.12% operating profit margin, an incredible operating profit margin to be sure. The highest of operating profit margins that I've seen are around 67%. And I mention this frequently Visa has the best operating profit margin. And in fact, Visa, I recommend it as my top dividend stock to buy in 2024 because it's such an incredibly profitable business. Well, Nvidia is not that far behind at 54%. Truly impressive. Intel, meanwhile, is recovering, right? The company suffered because of declining PC sales in 2022 and 2023, but now it's recovering. I wouldn't be surprised if its operating profit margin bounces back to 20% at some point in late 2024, maybe in mid 2025. The company has done a good job over the last decade in generating strong profitability. The cyclicality of the PC industry was exacerbated due to the unprecedented circumstances of the pandemic. I wouldn't be surprised Intel bounces back from this downtrend in operating profitability. The next thing I wanted to compare these two on is the cash flow from operations to sales. And again, in this metric, Nvidia demonstrating that separation, 46.11% compared to Intel at 21.15%. Again, Intel on the decline here due to the falling PC sales. That's expected to recover in 2024 in the low single digits, and then much better in 2025. That replacement cycle is expected to be strong given how many computers were purchased in 2020 and 2021, and given the latest infusion of AI technology into these latest personal computers, which is going to make them even more desirable from a consumer viewpoint. Looking ahead, if I was to consider their sales prospects for the next 2 years, for the current year, Nvidia is expected to grow sales by 79.8%. That's really strong growth. And then in its next year after that, 21.7% revenue growth expected for Nvidia. Robust growth to be sure, and it's not just growth for the previous 12 months, which has been phenomenal for Nvidia. Wall Street expects that growth to continue for at least the next couple of years, although not as pronounced as the previous 12 months. If you look at the similar outlook for Intel, it's expected to grow 5.7% this year and another 11.6% in the next fiscal year. So, like I mentioned, that replacement cycle in personal computers, supplemented by rising demand from artificial intelligence, is expected to fuel revenue growth for Intel. But revenue growth for Nvidia is expected to be much more robust over the next 2 years compared to Intel, although they are both expected to grow nicely in that time frame. And finally, I wanted to compare these two on valuation, and the metric I chose to use is the forward price to earnings ratio. And according to this metric, Intel is trading at a forward PE of 19.88, and Nvidia is trading at a forward PE of 29.68. Nvidia is roughly 50% more expensive than Intel according to this metric. However, given all of the metrics we looked at, comparing them on cash flow, on operating profit margin, on revenue growth, and on expectations over the next 2 years, Nvidia handily trounced Intel in those metrics. So I think Nvidia deserves this premium valuation. In fact, I would be willing to pay an even more of a premium valuation for Nvidia compared to Intel here. So if I was to choose which one of these two AI stocks to buy today, I would pick Nvidia as my chosen AI stock to buy now. Did you know that over 90% of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed? It'll really help support my channel if you hit that subscribe button. And oh, by the way, one of the benefits of being subscribed is that I take requests from subscribers more often than I do from non-subscribers. So if you prefer that benefit, please subscribe to the channel.